Good morning, everybody. Today's reading lesson is all about retrieval. So here is our guided text, so let's read it together. I quickly scrunched the paper up in my hands, but it was too late. Mrs. Vergira was already standing in front of me. Give it here, now, she said softly, her head tilting to one side. I looked over at Rajesh, whose eyes were popping so far out of his head they looked like they were going to fly across the room. Then I glanced at Mei Li and stupid Robert. Mei Li was frowning at Robert, and Robert was sitting straight and looking at the ceiling as if he had never done it before. I could see Karina doing the same thing too, giving them all a scowl. I handed the drawing to Mrs. Vergara even. I knew exactly what she was going to do next, because unfortunately Mr. Lancaster isn't the only champion-level stupid person at my school. Mrs. Vergara is just as stupid, except of trying to catch me at things. She pretends to be nice to me. That's one of the tricks extra sneaky grown-ups like to use when they want you to think they're your friend and not your enemy. Looking down at the drawing, Mrs. Vergara shook her head again. Oh, Hector, I'm disappointed in you. I know you're much better than this. But it wasn't me, it was Karina. She passed it to Mei Li, and Robert gave it to Rajesh. Karina gasped, and Robert shook his head. Mei Li opened her mouth, but before she could say anything, Mrs. Vergara bent down and pointed one long finger at me. Don't blame them for your behaviour, said Mrs. Vergara. This drawing is insulting and rude enough without you lying too. I just wish you could trust me enough to tell me the truth. I'm afraid I'll have to give you a detention again. I opened my mouth to argue that it really hadn't been me, and that if it had, my drawing would have been way better and funnier, but I knew there wasn't any point. Whenever a grown-up tells me to trust them, I know that's the last thing I can do. Grown-ups only ever help people they like, and I've never met a single grown-up who likes me. Besides, I've been disappointing everyone since as far back as I can remember, so that wasn't anything new. Mrs. Vergara walked back to the whiteboard and asked a question about the fire. I saw Mei Li looking at me, so I gave her a scowl which made her turn away. So that is our guided text. So, like you see in the other videos, these questions here are called question stems, okay? So they are all about how retrieval questions might be presented to you. So if you see a question that starts with how did, or who did, or what happened to, or what can you learn from something section, okay? Or give one example. You need to go to the text and find the information in the text, okay? So everything will be in the text exactly there, and you just need to go and find it. So here is your independent text. So you can pause and read, or it's on the PDF. And then here are your questions. So remember, all of the answers are just in the text. You just need to find them.